Hello everyone, and welcome to our session today on an introduction of Primo Payday. Joining us today is Whit Lester from NAV Payroll. And before I pass it over to Whit, I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded and it will be posted to our on-demand webinar library later this week for you to review and share with anyone. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type those into the questions box and we will get them answered at the end of the session. And before I pass it over to Whit, we'd just like to thank everyone for attending. And Whit, go ahead and kick off the presentation.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Jason, Kevin, and Angie for attending the webinar. For the purposes of this demonstration and this introduction, and to keep it relatively broad for anyone else who may view this in the future, I'm going to focus more on the high points of the system today. I'm probably not going to touch on a specific scenario within your business that you may have a question on, but I would encourage anyone who's currently attending or who views this video in the future that if you have any questions about how this particular solution can address particular business scenarios, to just reach out to your Innovia sales rep, and we can gladly set up a time to discuss that particular situation in greater detail. NAV Payroll, the demo today involves NAV Payroll's Business Central app called Primo Payday. We do have a solution available for NAV versions 2015 through 2018, and then obviously for Business Central and for the Business Central web client itself. So what you're seeing in this particular demonstration, it may or may not be the exact same interface that you are used to with either your current system, if you're using a role-tailored client interface, or whether you're using more of the Business Central interface. However, the functionality is the same across both our NAV products and our Business Central products. So if the interface is different than what you're used to, the functionality is all going to be the same. We're going to be discussing all the same topics, so it really doesn't matter. But we have it available for NAV and for Business Central. At the beginning of this demo today, I mentioned that we can address particular business scenarios if you have any questions down the road. And if there's 2 points that you walk away with from this demonstration today, just 2 points. The first point needs to be that you need to understand is that a major value add of this system is that it's built-in Business Central or built-in NAV. So it operates as like a natural organic extension of the rest of your ERP solution. So when you run payroll and post payroll, it's going to post to your GL, and then you're going to get all the benefits of analytics and accounting detail associated with having payroll data within your ERP system. So that's one major benefit. And the other major benefit / point I'd like you to walk away with today is that the system is highly configurable, and we've got tools in place to configure the solution to particular business requirements. The big difference between obviously configuration and customization is that if you don't have to go into the system and literally write new code to address your business needs, that's going to first give you as a user a lot more control and a lot more power to use this tool to the benefit of your business without having to rely on consultants. So that keeps costs down long term. And like I said before, it gives you control, and also it just helps with generally moving your business forward without having to be I would say anchored down with customizations that may have happened 10 years ago to address a particular business concern, and now you need something else, and now you've got to build a customization on top of the customization to address a problem from another customization. So it's highly configurable, and it's built in your ERP system. So those are 2 key points that if you walk away with nothing else today, then that's what I'd like you to walk away with. In order, I don't want to spend too much time on the configuration capabilities, but just to kind of show you some screenshots and to very basically touch on that, we will start with, I'll show you some custom dimensions first. So within the solution, some of the key areas that are going to allow you to you or your Innovia team to configure this solution to your particular business requirements is the fact that you can utilize dimensions within payroll. Not only that, but you can utilize custom dimensions within payroll. So within the Primo Payday app and the NAV Payroll solution, you can set up custom dimensions that can tie to a particular table ID or a particular field. So that's a really great tool to be able to really drill down into the data that's being captured within the payroll solution itself. We also have payroll process procedures. So payroll process procedures are going to allow you as a user, or allow once again the implementation team to configure particular calculations that may need to take place either on one particular payroll line or a group of payroll lines to once again to handle the complexities that may come from a particular calculation related to disability insurance or a particular earnings calculation that needs to be tied to a particular set of calculations. So the payroll process procedures can be tied to codes, which can then be inserted into payroll documents as well. And for this example, maybe it's life insurance, or medical special exemptions, unions, what have you. Another area that's going to allow you to triangulate into this particular needs of your business is going to be our pay matrix. Is going to be our pay matrix. And so once again, particularly if you're importing time and maybe you have different job tasks or position codes or job numbers, and you're needing to tie different amounts or different earnings values to those parameters that are coming in from some sort of time and attendance system, we've got a pay matrix that can help you automate where you are applying earnings to, once again, a particular job number, task number, position, and varying payment amounts that may apply to that. And to be clear, in most cases, as an end user, you're probably not going to spend too much time in those areas, at least especially initially during the implementation. But I just want to show that so you understand that the pieces are in place within the system to allow the team to configure the solution to your business requirements without requiring specific customized programming for each individual business need that you have. Now that I've kind of beat that horse enough, let's move on to some more basic functions in the system. At the end of the day, when it comes to payroll, most people are really just trying to track employees, run payroll, maybe handle some HR functionality, and possibly deal with some filing. So I'm going to introduce you to kind of the payroll employee card, walk you through that. I'll then show you kind of how the batch payroll screen looks, kind of at least introduce you to some kind of the reporting functionality, and then we can touch on some of the HR features. So from a payroll employee standpoint, here's your payroll employee list. We've also got a quick link here at with the payroll user screen, so you can immediately jump to employees. You've got your employee list here. You can click on your employees. One thing I would note is that we do have an employee wizard. So when you're adding an employee, you can tie employees, you can tie payroll divisions, which can be set up to to have templates for PTO time, for salaries, for deductions. And so when you're going, if you're adding a new employee, you'll obviously have to input the basic employee information that's unique to that person: name, address, phone number, birth date, social security number, W-2 withholding allowances, are they, what employee posting group, what's their hire date. But then you can just, so if you want to, you can select a template to then automatically populate salary, deduction, PTO. So the employee wizard can help streamline a lot of that. Now within the payroll employee itself, we provide our own custom payroll employee card. One great thing about that is that we took a lot of time and energy to make sure that you're able to tie employee posting groups, dimensions, payroll divisions, payroll calendars. All those can be applied to a particular employee, which helps with analytics and labor costing and job costing. You can tie them to resources, things of that nature. But it also allows us to control the solution and prevent, if Microsoft makes any adjustments to their Business Central or NAV payroll card, the employee card, then we don't have to worry about constantly making you having interruptions to your service or us making any changes. So on the administration side here, as you can see, we've got a variety of fields that can be data can be entered, which obviously just leads to better tracking. Employee user ID, manager ID. This ties into the ability for you to tie a particular employee to managers for both approvals and for security settings. So within payroll, within our payroll solution, you have to set up unique payroll users. So with those unique payroll users can have then have scaled settings and limits and rights. And then even within those, you can scale up to through security groups who has access to which employee information. So just because you have a NAV license or a Business Central license doesn't mean you're automatically going to have access to payroll. So we take security very seriously, and we have log notes as well, so that if anybody who's like a master power user tries to sneak in and just make some changes, you're going to know what happened. Position union codes. If you need to track different codes or different dimensions, you can apply those here. This is salary information. We'll talk briefly about ACH, but long story short is that direct deposit functionality is available within the solution. That's ACH functionality is standard in Business Central within NAV. Federal withholding information, state tax information can be entered directly onto the employee card. However, we also have the ability for you to track or manage state and federal tax by effective date. So with that effective date, some users like that because it allows them to have kind of a working history about any changes that were made, but it also opens up the ability to allow employees to work in multiple tax jurisdictions in the same pay cycle and have the solution process it. So if you have employees that work in multiple states, the solution can address that without any issue. Local tax information if necessary here, and then ACA setup. We'll go into salary deduction and PTO information, at least kind of give you a look. So for salary information, pretty simple. You can select your pay cycle. I'll just open this up here. You can select your pay cycle. What's the starting date? Is it a salary or hourly? If it's hourly, what's the hourly rate? Do they have a standard set of weekly hours? Are you going to use hours detail, which means are you importing data from a time clock? If you have an overtime multiplier, what is that? Or are they overtime exempt? When it comes to time clocks, just quick point, we can import from pretty much any time and attendance system so long as it exports data in a CSV or a text file. That can be automated or manual, just depends on what process you want to follow. And then we also have what we call a time clock cross-reference. And what that basically means is that without you having to pay for a significant amount of programming, we can basically marry your time clock data to the payroll data with, once again, only a couple hours of time if needed. And all you're basically doing is taking a CSV file or export from your time and attendance system, and then the cross-reference is just cross-referencing the headers with the employee data that's needs to be captured in the system. So once again, it's all about making the implementation as streamlined and simple and cost-effective as possible for you, So you can spend more time actually running payroll. Deductions. Here's where you could add the deductions that once again you feel are imperative to be to this employee. You can set up individual payroll code. Let me take a step back. Within the setup process itself, we have an assisted setup wizard. That assisted setup wizard is going to automatically set you, the user, up with pretty standard deductions across the board: health insurance, 401k, HSA, things of that nature. And so when you're taking those payroll codes, you would then apply them. You can apply those deductions here, and as you can see, you'll just select the code. It'll give you the description. You'll put in the amount or formula, the amount percent, and then you'll get your deduction limits here. So one other cool feature about the payroll solution is that we automatically update all tax tables for all federal and state tax tables automatically for users. That includes within those tax tables the employee and employer deduction and contribution limits associated with popular deductions like 401ks, HSAs, FSAs, the standard kind of run-of-the-mill plans. So you're not going to have to worry about, or the implementers aren't going to have to worry about setting up and tracking all this information on your own, or at the end of the year or the start of a new year having to re-enter all of that information. Once again, to help streamline the process, make it simpler for you to just run payroll, aid with compliance, and once again, limit the amount of implementation hours it'll take to get you up and running on the system. If you have local taxes or things like that, then yes, you will have to enter that information, but that's typical, and unemployment insurance, you'll have to enter that every year, but it makes it a heck of a lot easier if you just have to worry about entering a couple of data points as opposed to tracking all of your deductions and all of your federal and state tax brackets every year. PTO. Okay, once again with PTO, you're going to select your earnings code, which you can set up to be, any number, any way you want it. But you've got your personal days, you've got when you're going to start it, do you have carryover, what's the hours remaining, if any, do you have hours limits, do you have an hours carryover limit, are you going to allow negative hours, are you going to do a lump sum setup or an hour accrual setup? Once again, we could walk you through it as part of the implementation process, but the PTO can be configured any number of ways. It just depends on your particular requirements as a business and what you're trying to get done. Let's kind of show you what a batch looks like at this point. When you're processing a batch, once again, you can go to the full payroll menu and do it that way, or you can use the quick link and go to batch payroll processing. And it's pretty simple. When you're running a batch, you are going to select your pay cycle. You're going to select your pay cycle. What's the pay cycle period? What's the pay cycle period? Do you have any filters you want to apply? What's the employees? What's the posting group? Are they all direct deposit? However you want to do it. And then once you create that batch, you're going to have your employees available here. Now, several, I think, cool aspects about the interface regarding the batch is, first off, whatever line you select, you can immediately drill down into that payroll employee's card or the payroll document right from the batch payroll screen. You don't have to close out of screens to do it. One other aspect is that you can actually edit if you want to. You can input hours into the batch payroll screen itself, and it'll carry over to the employee card. So like if I put, I think this guy's got, let me see if I can, this will do it. If I go to this payroll document, you're now going to see that I added 8 hours of personal time right here in the payroll document, and it's also going to carry over to the lines in the payroll document itself. So gives you some flex. You may not ever need to do that, but we tried to make it to where it gives you flexibility, particularly if you're running a massive mountain of payroll, of individual payroll documents in a batch, for you to be able to quickly dive into trouble spots and maybe make some quick corrections if needed. From here, it's pretty simple. If they're direct deposit employees, you're going to export. You're then going to either email or print check stubs, and then you're going to post. And then that's going to post directly to the GL and the different ledgers. I will, well, let's show that. I'll give you an idea about how that looks. Posting documents. Posting payroll. Sorry guys, wrong part. Payroll ledger entries. What was I thinking? It's been a long morning. I've only had 2 cups of coffee and it's just not nearly enough. So here's an example of payroll ledger entries. If you highlight a line and we go to navigate, that's fine. What I'm trying to show you here is just that, that's fine. Oh, there's some freeze issues here. What I'm trying to show you here is just that within, posted payroll ledger entries, you can drill down directly into the actual individual ledger entries about where all of that posted payroll is posting within the rest of your accounting system. So once you run payroll, it's going to post, like I said, directly to the GL, directly to the vendor ledger. It's going to hit all those areas automatically. So that's going to eliminate, particularly if you're using QuickBooks or some sort of an outside solution, you're immediately going to get all of that detail populated within the rest of your accounting system, and there's no need for dual entry or balance transfers or anything like that. Let's at least touch on payroll reporting here. So payroll reporting, there are 2 approaches. We do have some canned reports that are available. In fact, let me open up that right quick. We do have canned reports that are available, and that includes 941s, 940s, W-2s, W-3s. So you can handle all the federal reporting out of the system without relying on any sort of an outside service if you want to do that. We also have configurable reports. So with these reports, you can customize your layout and you can customize the data that's coming out of the report. And basically, so long as there's a payroll code or data within, if the data is in the system, you can configure the report for that particular business requirement. I believe I've got an EFTPS requirement here. So let's preview that. Actually, let me send it to Excel, and then I can show it to you. So let me at least kind of drill into the report itself for a second, and then we'll talk to it. Okay, so when you're creating a report, whatever report you want to create, you create your, put in your code, what's the description, what's the source, is it going to be from ledger entries or open documents? You want it in the CSV format, what level do you want to drill down into? Do you have any subtotals? Do you want to print details, show hours worked, use posting groups? And then from there, you can actually group the codes however you want. So you can group any sort of payroll code that's in the system and then any other sort of outside parameters associated with that. So like if I take the FICO social bundle here, let me open it up. Once again, just to kind of drill down here. You can select a FICO social bundle, and then from there you can determine, do you want to reverse do you want to reverse sign? Do you want to exempt from federal withholding? Do you want to exempt from Social Security? On down the list. And once again, the whole point of showing you this is just saying that you have built-in reporting flexibility to create any sort of report that you need from the data that's in the system. And an example of that we typically find is with EFTPS filing reports and state withholding filing reports. So what you can do is you can bundle the payroll codes on the, for example, the employee and the employer side of Social Security, the Medicare employee-employer side, and the federal income tax withholding, and give you a nice clean layout in exactly the same order that EFTPS is looking for as an example, and give you all your employees and give you your reporting totals. Now, if you want to group these by states, maybe you've got a bunch of different states, that's not, you can do that as well. Maybe you need to track payroll wage bases by state or by employee. Once again, not an issue. It's however you need to configure that data, that's going to be available to you within the system. All right, so I've touched on that. So now let's talk a little bit about HR. We were receiving pretty consistent requirements from through RFPs and RFIs from potential customers when they said we want payroll, we want it to be integrated with our GL, and we also want an employee web portal, we want open enrollment, we want the ability for employees to submit time off requests through the web portal, we want them to be able to view their prior period pay stubs, and we want to be able to track applicants. That seemed, across the board, that seemed to be a pretty consistent functionality. So we went ahead and added that ability. So this is an example of our web portal, our employee web portal. So within an employee card in business, within either NAV or Business Central, you'll be able to add a login and password for that employee, at which point they can come in here, they can log in, and they can utilize the web portal. One really cool part about this web portal is that you're not going to have to buy a NAV or a Business Central license for all of your employees to use it. So this is a tool that can be used without having to buy additional licenses from Microsoft. So just get that out of the way. From the web portal, what can you do? Well, you can enter hours detail. If you want the ability to allow them to enter hours detail remotely, maybe you want them to document just hours, or maybe you want them to document hours on a particular job number or a particular job task, so you can run reports on that. To be totally clear, to be upfront, the inner hours detail, it's not the greatest function on the planet, but it does offer flexibility if that's something that you have to have and you want to do it and have it post directly to your ERP system. You can enter PTO requests. You get an accrual summary, and then you can submit time off, and that'll carry over directly to the payroll system, where it can either be set up to automatically approve, or you can have a manager that can get a pop-up that says, hey, you've got pending hours to be approved, and then it can be pending the manager's approval to be applied to that pay cycle period. Posted payroll processing. Now you can view and or download prior period pay stubs as an employee. We put in the view function so that they can view it from their cell phone without any issues. This is like just a sample check or a sample pay stub. One tangent on pay stubs and check layouts is that, once again, check layouts and pay stubs completely configurable. Just depends on what your particular requirements are, and that can be addressed. Look at your hours request history. Do you want to enter timesheet data? And then we get into open enrollment functionality. So here we've got employee change requests. Once again, an employee can submit a change request for, maybe it's just their current address or contact information, and that can be pending approval of a manager to be posted in the system. Maybe you need to add dependents or change dependents on your benefits plan. And then when the benefits itself, let's say, for example, voluntary life insurance, maybe you want to change your coverage election and submit that for pending as well. So open enrollment functionality is available within the system. The ability to submit generic address or contact information employee change requests is available in the system. You also have the ability to submit and sign or view company documents. So, for example, let's say you've got an employee packet, the employee wants to view that document, and then they want to sign it. They can sign that here and submit that, and then that'll carry over to the solution itself. So if I go to, I think it's reporting, no, let's navigate. And I go to employee document signatures. And here you can see what's the employee number, what's the document name, what did they sign to get an image of the signature. So once again, opening up additional HR features to give you the tools you need, or at least help carry the load of HR, so that your personnel aren't having to deal with just daily minutia of taking care of employees, and employees can be empowered to take care of more of that stuff on their own. Let's see. Oh, and then payroll applicants. We also have the ability to track and manage applicants. So this table is where you would do that, and all you need to do is we can import applicants from whatever kind of job board or job boards that you want to utilize, bring them in here. You could then rate those employees based on, or those applicants based on, which ones you want to hire. And then when you decide you want to hire them, you can create an employee from the applicant. You can then set them up on the web portal, send them onboarding documents to sign through the web portal, and at least once again streamline the onboarding process as best you can. So at a very, very, very high level, I've kind of really breezed through the system itself. And just to kind of highlight what we went over, it's built in your ERP system. So maintaining and drilling down into the accounting detail is a major benefit of the solution, and that includes using all the benefits of NAV and Business Central, like dimensions and job numbers, job tasks, things of that nature. And it's highly configurable to really complex payroll requirements. Maybe you've got certain jobs that have different rates. Maybe you have different union groups or position codes that require different rates. Maybe you have different complex calculations that need to take place. All of that can be configured with our earnings rates, our pay matrix, our process procedures, and then we also offer. And then with dimensions and custom dimensions, you can really drill down into information there. You have a variety of options for tracking employees. Running payroll is relatively simple, assuming you've got all your dimensions and everything set up the way you want it for analytics. You literally just set up your batch, run your batch, and it automatically posts. You've got payroll reports for 940, 941s, W-2s, W-3s, and then you've got a configurable reports layout to be able to configure whatever data, to pull data out of the system and to figure out what you want to see and how you want to see it. And then we've also got HR tools. Are we going to be the world's greatest human resource management system? No. But we do have I would say on the grand scale of being really low quality HR, really high quality HR, we're right there in the middle, because we're going to give you an integrated solution that allows you to at least offer open enrollment, track applicants, onboard employees, have them sign documents, and keep all that within one system, because the fewer systems you're having to use, the easier your job is on a daily basis. The last, and then obviously the web portal, which opens up HR features and empowers your employees. The last point I want to touch on is that we do offer a filing service. So it's not fully outsourcing. It's not like ADP or Paychex where they're going to run your payroll and then send you a data dump for your GL. The way our outsourcing solution works is you technically run payroll. You have all your data in all your payroll accounting detail in your ERP system. But then our outsourcing solution will handle, or our filing solution will handle tax and document filing on the federal, state, and or local level. So, that typically includes state income tax withholding, unemployment insurance deposits, and then federal EFTPS deposits, and then all the filing that goes along with that. In some states, there are maybe one more entity that needs to be involved, but for the most part, that's what you're running into. So we're finding that our cost, which you can get through Innovia, is typically 30 to 60% cheaper than a standard outsourcing solution. And once again, the major benefit there is that you keep all your accounting detail, but you offload just some of the hassle of filing and just keeping track of that stuff. We'll take care of that for once again for a significant cost savings. With that, we can open it up to questions. If any, hopefully I've touched on. I try to keep these relatively short so that people don't fall asleep when we're doing them. So because payroll is kind of tough to make it fun and exciting. So if anyone has any questions, I'd welcome to hear them at this time.
Thank you, Whit. Yes, we do have a question that came through. Can I have an hourly labor pool that consists of multiple unions and also non-union employees?
An hourly pool. I assume you're just tracking that in a time and attendance system, and then you're gonna label who's a union and who's not a union in that pool and pull that data into the payroll system. If that's the way you're doing it, that's not a problem. You could still do it. You could still do it within the system without that, but I would assume if you've got an hourly labor pool, you're using a time and attendance system. So the answer is yes. Yes, you can. It's just, once again, from a configuration standpoint, exactly how you want to address that would determine how we would configure the system. Are you tracking PTO time in a time and attendance system? Do you use some sort of a points tracking in the time and attendance system? That would impact what data we bring over. Or do we just want to track that all in the payroll system itself? Once again, totally doable. Just depends on the particulars of how you want it set up.
Okay, thank you. If anyone has any further questions and you would like to get those addressed, please go ahead and type those in. And if not, please feel free to contact us at Innovia or the team at NAV Payroll if you would like to have any additional questions answered. So thank you, Whit, for the presentation today, and to everyone on today's call, or if you're watching on demand, thank you for joining us. And we do have a few more webinars coming soon. This afternoon at 1 p.m. Central, we have Jeff Pergolski from Innovia Consulting. He will be presenting on Microsoft Power BI with NAV and Business Central. And next week, April 11th, we have a webinar reviewing our customer conference. And NAV Payroll will be attending our customer conference, so you can meet the representatives from NAV Payroll. Whit will be there along with Drew Winborn. And for those who have not attended our conference before, this webinar would be a good webinar for you to attend. Find out all the details, the sessions that are taking place during our conference, and we will have an opportunity to address any questions that you may have. So please register for that webinar if you are interested. All right, and if you still haven't registered for our customer conference and you would like to, you may do that. Our customer conference is coming up on April 24th and 25th in the Wisconsin Dells. You can contact your rep or visit our conference page where we'll have all of the details of the conference, and that is innovia.com/conferences. This is a free event for you to attend, and we would love to have you. So register now. Hotel rooms are going fast. Thank you again for joining us, everyone, and thank you, Whit, for the presentation, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on another Innovia webinar. Have a
Thank you
great
very
day,
much.
everyone.